Running an e-commerce store and want to crush it this year? You are in the right place, because in this video, I will show you exactly how to A/B test a sign-up form in Klaviyo, so you can double the growth of your email and SMS list and skyrocket your store revenue as a result. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that is as powerful for your email revenue as that sign-up form submit rate. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how to double or even triple that submit rate from the industry average. My name is Kasey and I run Luck & Co agency, where we help 7- and 8-figure e-commerce stores maximize their email and SMS revenue. On this channel, I share free tutorials and best tips for e-commerce. Your support in the form of likes and comments makes this free content possible, so please leave your favorite emoji in the comments section. I already have a video about creating a Klaviyo sign-up form from scratch on this channel, so if you don't have your pop-up activated yet, go watch that video first. In this video, we'll focus specifically on how to set up a pop-up A/B test in Klaviyo. Case study. But first, let me show you why you need an A/B test and just how powerful it can be. We run pop-up A/B tests all the time here at Luck & Co because it's the biggest leverage brands have for revenue from their entire email channel. Here's one recent example. We increased this one brand's welcome flow revenue by $7,500 per week by running an A/B test on the pop-up. That's almost $30,000 in extra revenue each month from just one email, and a much faster growing email database as a sweet bonus. Pretty cool, huh? Pop-up submit rate has a direct correlation to your store revenue, so you should be testing it a lot until you get to 10% submit rate or higher. I'm about to show you exactly how to set up those A/B tests in Klaviyo, but before we dive into the technical things and I show you the ropes, let's talk about what you can A/B test in your pop-up. Types of A/B tests. First of all, your messaging. Headline, hook, paragraph text, CTA. Try testing being more aggressive with inviting people to the list versus being more friendly and casual. Funny versus straightforward. Using puns and emojis versus being serious. Next, your offer. 10% off versus 15% off. Dollars off versus percentage off. Free gift with purchase. A free digital download. Free shipping. Next, design. Full screen versus smaller form. Side image versus top image. GIF versus static images. Photos with people versus photos with products. Maybe a very simplistic approach with no images or graphics at all. And finally, behavior settings. Showing the pop-up 5 seconds after the user lands on the website versus 7 seconds. Exit intent versus time delay versus page scroll. With all these options, just remember to test one thing at a time. Otherwise, it will be a mess. For example, if you're testing 10% off versus 15% off, use the exact same copy in both variations and just change the numbers. If you use different copy in one of the variations, you just won't know for sure what caused the winning variation to win, the offer or the copy. Drop a comment under the video right now and tell me what's going to be the first test that you're going to try or the next one that you're going to try. By the way, if you want to go to the next level with your pop-ups and A/B tests, you gotta check out the sponsor of this video, Amped. Amped hooks up directly to Klaviyo and helps you create beautiful pop-ups that convert 2 to 3 times better than your average pop-up, getting more subscribers into Klaviyo and, as a result, making you more money. You can start with one of Amped's fully designed premium templates. Just look at these. You can customize everything, and the cool thing is that designing a pop-up in Amped feels more like Figma or Webflow. So much easier to create exactly what you need than in the clunky Klaviyo pop-up builder. You can launch a split test with a click of a button, and Amped gives you super granular analytics of every interaction and step progression. You can run mini quizzes, capture zero-party data, and of course, all data captured syncs up to Klaviyo, so you can use it in your flows, segments, and campaigns. Brands that use Amped see 10% pop-up sign-up rates on average, which is about 3 times higher than the industry. They also have amazing support and can help you if you get stuck. Go pick your template and start a free trial with the link in the video description. Okay, we're now ready to dive into Klaviyo. Let's get our hands dirty. So over here, I'm assuming that your Klaviyo is already connected and integrated with your shopping platform. In my case, that's Shopify. And we can jump straight into sign-up forms. So just select sign-up forms on the left right here. And then let's create a sign-up form. I'm just gonna go with one of the templates that Klaviyo is offering me. Let's choose this 3-step pop-up and let's call it something like this. And an important thing is to choose the subscriber list. So make sure that you're using the list that is also triggering your welcome flow. What we want to do here is make sure that we set all of the settings and make this pop-up exactly perfect and the way we want it before we duplicate it and create variation B. Variation B at the beginning is going to be the exact clone of variation A. So if you don't want to duplicate work and set the settings in variation A and then do the exactly same things in variation B, make sure that your first variation is pixel perfect. So I'm not going to spend too much time here like explaining how to actually create a sign up form because I have a separate video for that. So we're just quickly going to go through all of these things. Let's imagine that this is the exact copy that I want to use, exactly the copy that I want to use for CTAs, the images, I love everything. And then I go through the next step where I'm collecting the preference from the customer or from the shopper. All of this is perfect, and then there's no other step, and then the success page also looks great. By the way, if you want to learn how to create unique coupon codes in Klaviyo that would sync up directly to Shopify, make sure that you subscribe to my channel because we're about to release that video very, very soon. So let's pretend everything's great. The next thing that you want to check is go into targeting and behavior and make sure that the pop-up settings over here are exactly what you want them to be. So for example, I actually don't want to show this pop-up on page load and I want to add a 5-second delay. So this pop-up is going to show 5 seconds after page load. And then I don't want to show this pop-up again to people who closed it out without submitting the form for, let's say, 14 days. And then it's showing on all devices. And then let's pretend all of these settings are exactly what I want them to be. Make sure that you're not showing this pop-up on your cart page and on your checkout page and then on any other pages where you don't want to add friction. Because let's face it, if you got your customer to the checkout form, you actually don't want to show them the pop-up. You just want them to check out and complete their purchase. Okay, so let's say this is exactly what I want. One last thing that I want to check is click on this continue button and then make sure that it's going to the list that I want. Let's pretend that test is the list that I want to connect this pop-up to. And then over here in step 2, where I'm collecting a preference, I want to click on these and make sure that the profile property is being created based on the question that I'm asking and that the answers are linked to the property values that I want. So all of this looks great. And then over here, I want to configure my coupon. And instead of going with a static coupon, I actually want to use a unique coupon code. And Klaviyo makes it super easy for me because I can just select one of the coupons that I pre-created in my account before. Again, I'm about to release a video on how to do that. So let's do this. And then just in case they're asking for a fallback coupon, so let's just pretend it's sign up 15. A fallback coupon is if your unique coupon code that's unique to every recipient of this, which is the cool part about it. If for some reason it fails and doesn't work, the fallback coupon is what's going to show in its place, and it should be a regular static coupon code that you create in Shopify or another shopping platform that you use, and it's just here as a fail proof. All right, so all of this is done. So now that this pop-up is exactly the way we want it to be, this is the magic button. We want to click Create A/B Test. A pro tip here, make sure that you name both your test and your variations properly because it's going to make a huge difference to you in the future. Let's say, for example, that we're testing 10% versus 15% off. That's exactly what I'm going to name it, 10%. And then the important part is that we also name variations. So variation A is 10% off and variation B is 15% off. And now let's create the test. So over here, the UX of Klaviyo is a little bit tricky. You need to pay attention to detail. Right now, we're editing variation A. The only way you'll be able to tell this is from here. You'll see that it says A, and then this is where naming already comes into play because I named it in a very descriptive way. I know I'm editing the 10% off version. And then if I click on it, I see the drop-down menu and I can choose my other variations. So we already finalized the design and the settings for variation A, 10% off. So let's go straight to 15% off. So now Klaviyo tells me that I'm in variation B and I'm editing the 15% off version. So I'm going to click into here and just change 10% to 15%. As I mentioned just earlier in the video, make sure that you're only testing one thing per test. For example, another thing here that I would love to test is the side image versus the image on the top. But I should not be testing that at the same time with my offer. Let me run this test first, and then I'll come back to it once the winner of this test is chosen. Then I'll grab that one as my new kind of status quo, and then I'll add new variations there and test my design. Okay, so 15% off. And because this is the only thing that I'm testing, I'm actually done. But again, if you were testing other things, you would edit design things or messaging or behavior settings or any of those other things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but just one thing at a time. Super important. Oh, one last thing. If you're doing the same pop-up for desktop and mobile, just make sure that you preview everything on mobile as well. At Luck & Co, we usually actually have separate pop-ups for mobile and desktop. We just design them very differently to fit the device. But over here, it's the same thing. So just make sure you preview it. It looks fine. Awesome. Let's click continue to test settings. And this is where the interesting part really begins. Okay, so in this window, there are a few very key settings for running your A/B test. First of all, you can manage your variations and you can actually add more variations. So you can run an ABC test. And the more traffic you have, the more room you have for multivariate tests. The thing about traffic and pop-ups is that the more traffic you have, the more people you will have opting into your form, the faster your test will reach statistical significance. Statistical significance is basically this statistical thing or metric or concept that says that like there are enough results, there are enough people opting into your form to say for sure that yes, B variation will win even when we extrapolate these results into a larger sample of people. So that's what statistical significance is about. And the more traffic you have, the faster you'll get there. So if you have low traffic, not a lot of traffic, you will need to run your test for longer in order to reach that statistical significance. And for that reason, if you don't have a lot of traffic, don't add too many variations and just do 2 variations. And then from here, the next thing that you will want to do is select whether you want to do manual versus automatic weights. Currently, this is switched off, so the weights are automatic. What does that mean? It means that Klaviyo will figure out in real time which variation is performing better than the other and will feed more traffic into that variation. It's kind of a way for you to not lose out too much on the losing variation. So in other words, Klaviyo will continue running your A/B test and it will continue showing both variations to your traffic, but it's not going to be split 50-50. More of your traffic will see the variation that's currently winning, and then less than 50% will see the other variation. However, Klaviyo will continue showing the currently losing variation as well until enough people submit their emails through both of the variations. With this setting, I usually like to go with automatic and just let Klaviyo figure it out because it will still continue showing both variations until that statistical significance, the magical statistical significance is reached. So I'm just gonna do automatic. But if you wanted to do manual for some reason and like keep it 50-50 very strictly, you can always easily choose that with this toggle on and off. Oh, and by the way, did you notice how when you go manual, you can actually choose 50-50 or 70-30 or whatever you want? However, I'm gonna leave this up to Klaviyo. And then the next important thing is over here. Do you want the winner of your test to be selected automatically by Klaviyo when that statistical significance is achieved? Or do you just want that A/B test to run indefinitely until you manually choose the winner? Or do you want to set a date limit and just tell Klaviyo, hey, in 2 weeks, let's close this test, let's end it, and then you take your next steps from there. My approach to this depends on which type of A/B test you're actually running. And there are 2 different types. One type of A/B test in the pop-up will actually require you to also split your welcome flow. And the offer A/B test, the one that I'm actually showing you in this example, is one of those examples. Because if you're showing one set of your traffic 10% off and then you're showing other people 15% off, what you send to them in your welcome email will actually need to match what you're promising to them in the pop-up. And the way it technically needs to be executed in Klaviyo is you'll have two separate paths in your welcome flow. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. And with this, you're not actually just A/B testing the pop-up, you're also A/B testing the welcome flow. And sometimes, even though the statistical significance is reached for the pop-up, so we know which one, 10 or 15% off, is working better to get people into the door, to get them onto your email list, we're also A/B testing which of these offers is going to convert your subscribers into customers better. And, because the welcome flow is ideally more than one email. For us, it's usually between 4 and 5 emails, and, it spans usually a whole week for people. For that reason, I like to manually end my A/B test, and I look not only at the pop-up results, but also at the welcome flow results. And stick with me, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in just a second. But if your A/B test is more about copy or design or behavior settings, in other words, you're strictly just testing the submit rate of the pop-up and not how the welcome flow converts, if that's the case, then totally let Klaviyo end the test automatically once statistical significance is achieved. So that's a very important differentiator there. And finally, on the screen, you can add a note about the A/B test if your team is large and if you want everybody, when they log in, to know what this test is about. This is a great space to add those notes. So now let's publish this A/B test and see what happens. So once your A/B test is running, this is what the screen is going to look like. You'll be able to choose your date range over here. So right now we're looking at the last 7 days and we're looking at it day by day. And Klaviyo is reminding us that this pop-up is running this A/B test, 10 versus 12% off. And I'm going to see some basic stats over here, the total people who viewed the form, how many of those people submitted the form, and my form submit rate. And then Klaviyo also ranks your result compared to your peer group and your industry average. So for my pop-up, Klaviyo is telling me that this pop-up is doing excellent. However, these are the stats for the entire pop-up. And what you want to do is you want to go into the A/B test results tab at the top over here. Here, there are also a few little tricks. You can toggle between all of the A/B tests that you've run on this pop-up in the past by going in here. And there's a little drop-down menu that's easy to miss. And you'll see that on this pop-up, I've already run 2 different A/B tests. They're named very similarly because they're very similar A/B tests. And honestly, the first one had to be discontinued because we made a little mistake over there. So we just caught it right away. And then we redid this A/B test. So this is the current one. We called it 10% versus 12% off round 2. And it's currently still in progress. And this little window has a lot of very interesting data. So win probability. Basically, Klaviyo is telling me that variation B, which I named 12% off, has 82% of probability of winning, of being the winning variation. And these results are not statistically significant, and that's why this A/B test is still running. The status of the A/B test is live. I also can see my start date and the current weights that Klaviyo is assigning to these 2 variations. And because I chose automatic weights, Klaviyo is giving more weight to the variation that's currently winning, but not too much, so that it can still continue comparing the results between the 2 variations until that statistical significance is reached. And then over here, very cool, I can see the views, the number of people who submitted the form, and the form submission rate for each variation. So I can see that my 10% off variation is converting visitors into subscribers at 5.5%. And then the 12% off is converting visitors into subscribers at almost 7.6%. So, the variation B is quite a bit higher, which is great, but I'm still going to wait until these results are statistically significant. Okay, so now let's look at the welcome flow. And this part of the video is relevant for you if you're A/B testing something like the offer, which, spoiler alert, is one of the things that you can A/B test that will give you the biggest leverage. Because obviously, whether you're giving 5% off or 10% off or $10 off or free shipping or free gift with purchase, those kinds of things will have the biggest effect on your submit rate. And then the other thing is design. So the way you design it, like simplistic design versus GIFs versus photos with people in the photos versus photos with products, all of those things also have a huge effect on your submit rate. This is what we're doing in the welcome flow. First of all, we have this conditional split that removes all people who are getting into the welcome flow for making a purchase. And this is just a choice that we make because we only want people in this flow who are not customers yet. And by default, if somebody joins your email list from making a purchase, because of course their email address in the Shopify checkout form, they're going to join your list. And we actually don't want them in the welcome flow. We send them to other flows, to a post-purchase flow. So we just remove them from here. So that's what this conditional split is about. And then from there, this is the conditional split that actually splits my welcome flow into two paths based on which offer the person got in their pop-up variation. This is how I set up this conditional split. Properties about someone, pop-up discount equals variation A 10%. And then I click save. And then if the answer is yes, they go down the path of the welcome flow where that's delivering 10% off. And if the answer is no, I just check that for a very similar thing, but the value for this property, pop-up discount, is variation B 12%. And then if the answer is yes, then I deliver the welcome flow, which gives them 12% off. But if answer is no, that means that this person got into the email list, not from variation A, not from variation B, but from somewhere else. Really, the only other place where they can get into this flow is from the footer. And if they came from the footer, then we're still delivering 10% off to them. But I do want that path separately, just simply because I want to see how those people convert differently from the people who are coming in from the pop-up. So that's why I have a third path in my welcome flow. Obviously, this is a pretty advanced setup, but if you do it step by step, it's not actually that difficult. And the cool thing is that if you click Show Analytics at the top over here, now I can see that my 10% off variation converts at 22%, and then my 12% off variation converts at 28%. Honestly, both of those conversion rates are pretty crazy, really, really great for welcome flow. And then interestingly, people who are signing up from the footer are not converting at all, but also they're only 15% who received this variation of the email. So it's not too bad, but it kind of confirms my hunch in that people who are signing up from the footer, their buying intent is much lower. So for me to show you where this property is coming from, we need to go back to the pop-up and I'll show you where to add that. Here's another pro tip for you. If you're running an active A/B test, you cannot edit it anymore. So if you made a mistake or if you decided to change something, you will actually have to end the test and then make your edits and then start a new test. So when you click that Start A/B Test button, make sure that your pop-up is truly, truly ready. So now I want to make an edit and I will click Edit A/B Test and click Edit Content, and now Klaviyo is giving me this warning that, hey, we can only create a copy of your A/B test. You can't edit an active test. So I'm going to say round 2, 10% versus 15% off. So in this first step where you're collecting the email address, click on the button. And again, it's going to show you some of these settings and which list your subscribers are going to. And then it's going to show you submit hidden fields. So this is a very, very important part. And not a lot of people know about it. Besides the field that you're actively collecting from this step of the pop-up, in this case, it's the email address of the person. You can also collect unlimited number of hidden fields. And your subscribers, your visitors will not know that you're collecting that information about them. But it's not like anything crazy. So in this case, we'll just want to make sure that we're collecting which pop-up variation they are coming to me from. So I'm gonna say you need to first name your profile property. So I'm going to call it pop-up variation. and then choose value variation A, 10% off, create. And go back. So this was my variation A. Now let's switch to variation B. Again, click on the button and add this property again. And you won't be able to select this property from the drop-down menu. And this is because not a single person has that profile property in their profile yet. But as soon as at least one person has it in their profile, it will show up for you in the drop-down menu. Because, you know, due to the nature of how we're creating this pop-up, it's not going to show up. It's super, super, super important for you to copy paste that both the profile property and the value exactly the same way that you have it in variation A, not the value, just the profile property. Because if you mess that up, if like there's a little typo, it will actually create two separate profile properties, and then it's a mess and it's really hard to keep track of. So let me actually go back to, where are we? No, to variation A, click on the button. I actually won't be able to do this. So I should have done this from the start. So let's pretend I'm doing this from the start. Pop-up variation, copy, paste, and go back. Click variation B. Click on the button again. Let's just delete this, create this again. Now I'm pasting. It still says create pop-up variation as if that profile property didn't exist for the reason that I just described. And then over here, it's going to be variation B, 12 or 15 in this case, % off. I'm using two different examples throughout this video, as you may have noticed. Okay, so that's it. And then when I go to my welcome flow, in this conditional split, you'll just need to make sure that over here, you're selecting exactly the same property that you had over here. So mine actually doesn't match 100% because again, I'm using two different examples, but essentially this should show pop-up variation and then equals variation A, 10% off, and then similar here. So that's it. There you have it. We've gone through a lot of different things. You now know how to create a variation for your pop-up. You know which things to A/B test. You know like little things in the settings to look out for. Naming, super important, and now you saw why. And then once you create segments based on your variations and other things, you'll see the value of naming things properly even more. And then I think that the last thing that I showed you where you also actually A/B test not only the pop-up form, but the welcome flow in addition to it, that's where the value really is for me also. Of course, you know, the higher the pop-up submit rate is, the better, the more people will join your list and you will make more money from that welcome flow and from your entire email channel, just, you know, by default, because the more people are in the funnel, the more people can convert, the more revenue you can make. But if you're also A/B testing the welcome flow, it's just kind of like you're doubling up on all of those conversion rates and you're growing your revenue even faster. I hope that this was helpful. I know that this is a little bit technical, maybe not a little bit. So if you have questions, please ask them in the comments. If you're subscribed and if you follow me, you know that I always get back to everybody who I can help. And if I can't help, I try to point you in the right direction where you can find help. So drop me a comment, like this video, subscribe to my channel. A special shout out again to the sponsor of this video, AMP. They are a truly, truly amazing platform. And if you noticed, even from the video, the templates that they have are a complete game changer. So I would recommend checking them out in the video description and going and just trying their templates. They have a free trial, so you have nothing to lose. And then other than that, thank you again so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.